Hello and thanks for watching my channel. We're going to return to a very fascinating story today. Please like and subscribe my channel. Let's go. The Euphrates River is a historic waterway that helped to shape human history, but in recent years it has been steadily drying up, putting millions of people through an unparalleled drought that extends from Turkey through Syria and ultimately Iraq. This long stretch of river has been the major source of water in the region for over 10,000 years, sustaining human civilizations and allowing them to flourish. However, the drying up of the Euphrates is not entirely unexpected, as it has been predicted in a terrifying prophecy that seems to be coming true. Significance of the Euphrates River in human history cannot be overstated. It has been responsible for creating the Fertile Crescent, a part of ancient Mesopotamia, where the first and oldest recorded agricultural practices originally began in times of old. The Euphrates provided a constant source of clean water for men to practice farming and other agricultural practices, which later spread to other parts of the world. The Euphrates River was also one of the first rivers to be recorded in the Bible, as it was among the 4 rivers that were said to originate from the Garden of Eden. In biblical records, the Euphrates served as a key dividing barrier between the East and West, shaping key events such as wars and invasions that have in turn shaped the distribution of people and power in much of Asia and North Africa. The river's significance spreads as far back as over 450,000 years ago, with Julian stone artifacts and the remains of early Homo erectus having been found buried in its banks, distance of over 1,730 miles, originating from the Armenian mountains in eastern Turkey. The Euphrates is the longest river in Asia, and together with the river Tigris makes up the Fertile Crescent. The river flows through steep gorges and canyons in Turkey, then through lowlands in Syria before cutting clear across Iraq and entering into the Persian Gulf. However, this ancient river is now drying up, with a significant drop in water levels across the length of its path in most places in the lower part of the river. Mostly in Iraq, the river has completely dried up, with the riverbed now completely visible, and what used to be submerged underwater now barren lands of cracked soil in most places where the water has dried up. Farmlands have become barren as there is no source of irrigation for the crops, pushing villages into unusually long droughts. The fishing economies of these places are now all but non-existent because the few small pools of water that remain are either contaminated or unusable. The Fertile Crescent that gave rise to the world's agriculture is now a desolate land that is almost completely different from what it was a decade ago. The Euphrates River has played a significant role in many intriguing tales and historical incidents in the southeast, including the alleged finding of King Gilgamesh's tomb, an ancient king of the city of Europe. The book Gilgamesh was buried under the Euphrates River in a tomb built after the river's waters parted following his death. Gilgamesh is king of Uruk, an ancient kingdom on the banks of the Euphrates in what is now the present-day Iraq. The Epic of Gilgamesh, which recounts the life of this king, is considered a Middle Eastern literary masterpiece and was written 2,000 years before the birth of Christ. There is also some amazing video that seems to depict the finding of Gilgamesh's tomb, but I must warn you that the veracity of this video is questionable. To learn more about this discovery, let's go back to 2003. German explorers and archaeologists under the direction of Jörg Fassbender discovered an ancient tomb that they think belonged to giants who once roamed the earth millennia or even centuries ago. The researchers reported that they discovered the bodies of enormous giants and sent them to laboratories for testing, including carbon dating. Since the discovery, not much has been said about it, and it has been kept secret. As was to be expected, the discovery has generated some debate in the media. Gilgamesh was described as a 17-foot-tall giant who was the son of a Sumerian king and a Mesopotamian goddess. He supposedly ruled over Uruk, which later became Erech. It's possible that he was buried there before his body was found in 2003. Gilgamesh was essentially a demigod, and in his reign he waged wars against his enemies and sometimes acted as a bit of a tyrant to his people. Not surprising, considering he had godlike strength and could pretty much do whatever he wanted. Of Gilgamesh, it is said that the gods finally listened to the cries of Gilgamesh's people, who had to live in fear of their all-powerful king, and they wanted a savior, so Anu, the king of the gods, used clay and his own spit to make Enkidu, a wild man who would challenge Gilgamesh to a contest of strength. When Gilgamesh and then Kedu eventually came to blows, it was pretty epic. and their duel reportedly lasted days. Eventually, Gilgamesh still managed to eke out the win, and despite the win, he was reportedly so impressed by Enkidu that they eventually became friends later on, when Enkidu was eventually struck by death. Gilgamesh was so grief-stricken that he basically became a philosopher. The death of his friend caused him to question the meaning of life and the value of all human accomplishments. When we're all going to end up dead someday, Enkidu's death also caused Gilgamesh to become a better person. He cast away all his pride and set out on an epic quest to find the meaning of life and hopefully even defeat death for many years. Everyone believed that the Epic of Gilgamesh was nothing more than a literary concept, and the ancient king probably didn't even exist. However, the discovery of Fassbender changed everything. Interestingly, the team of explorers didn't just see the burial site. According to Fassbender, the team uncovered over 100,000 hectares of land and property, many of which were described in the Epic of Gilgamesh. He also claimed that they found Babylonian houses and properties scattered around the area, all buried underground for thousands of years. It is fascinating to note that all of this was found in the desert, which is quite remarkable considering the significance of the Euphrates River in regard to biblical prophecy as we get closer to the return of the Messiah. It is astonishing that more and more discoveries are being made that point towards the biblical narrative being fact. Aside from this tomb, there were other important discoveries that were made due to drying up of the Euphrates River. According to scientists, the Euphrates riverbed has revealed 6 distinct historical periods, each with its own unique artifacts and treasures. These periods include the Sumerian, Akkadian, Assyrian, Greek, Byzantine, and Islamic eras, without diverting the river or creating lakes in the desert. The region along the Euphrates River is home to hundreds of Syriac Christian monasteries and numerous cemeteries. Interestingly, when the sun shines and the lake water is clear, the submerged cemeteries can be clearly seen in the western district of Raqqa. Syria built the Euphrates Dam in 1968, which resulted in the flooding of many ancient sites along the river. However, a few monuments and artifacts were saved from destruction. On the right bank of the lake, a few graves have been discovered. However, the left bank has not been thoroughly studied because of its rockiness and difficulty in digging. For instance, the ancient city of Talbas was discovered in Anna, Iraq, as the river's waters receded. According to Iraqi archaeologist Muhammad Jassim, at least 80 ancient monuments appeared as a result of the Haditha Dam's decreased water level. Also, the Duhok Antiquities Department, the Mitanni Empire city, which goes back 3,400 years, was discovered when floodwaters in the Tigris River basin subsided, according to recent news from Iraq's Kurdistan province. Researchers were astounded by how well some underwater mud walls that had been sun-dried for over 40 years had held up. They believe this is because of a city destroyer. Another amazing archaeological discovery made due to the drying up of the Euphrates River is the ancient city of Zakiko, which was mentioned in Babylonian writings. This city boasts several buildings, including a palace, a huge fence, and cuneiform texts that have been found. Undoubtedly, there is still a lot of history and information that has yet to be discovered, evidence that will only further our understanding of ancient history. These discoveries have had a profound impact on how we view the past, and we are eager to find out what else lies beneath the Euphrates River. Stay tuned for more fascinating discoveries that will illuminate our ancient history. And if you enjoyed this story, please hit the subscribe button until the next one. Thanks for watching.